Recruiting is the lifeblood to any team or brokerage in the real estate industry. Not recruiting to a team or brokerage would be like a sales organization not generating leads. It just doesn't make sense. And I'm going to share with you the exact system that I have used to grow my real estate team from 12 agents to 50 agents in just under 24 months. And this podcast is specifically for team leaders and broker owners. I'm sharing my experience, good and bad, of growing my company, Onyx Homes. If you want the closest possible look at doing that, you can go join our community that's totally free at onyxhomes.com/school. Link in the description or wherever as well too. Now, let's dive into content. The first part of recruiting is to understand the importance of it. We covered that in episode 5. If you have not already watched that episode of the podcast, episode number 5, I'd highly recommend watching that first. Now, if you have watched that, you should have a base understanding of how important recruiting is in the first place. Now, one thing I want to make sure, there's 2 points here. One is recruiting is no different than converting buyer or seller leads. If you are running a team, starting a team, growing a team, I'm going to go ahead and assume that you're good at sales, which isn't even a prerequisite for actually recruiting anyway. So number one is recruiting is no different than converting buyer or seller leads. Second is you need to generate leads, which is also no different. So you need lead generation, lead conversion. Recruiting is very similar to converting listings into or seller leads into listings. So here's the reality is leads turn into appointments, turn into recruits, just like leads turn into appointments, turn into deals. There's no difference here. It's just the actual process and who we're actually talking to is what changes. And this scares a lot of team leaders. But I'm going to share the literal exact thing to where you could listen to this and set up your funnel in like today. So it's also rather simple. So here's the exact funnel that I use to recruit to my team. And this is like a somewhat automated process. Obviously there's humans involved. Obviously this does take time, but mostly automated, or at least up until the point where they book the calendar is completely automated. So number one, first and foremost, lead generation. From generating leads, we prompt them through automations to book a 20-minute phone call. This is a first interview, and it is a phone call, and it's 20 minutes. This is to screen for quality and to screen for them being a good fit or not. Then from there, the people that we feel like are a good fit, we bring into our team meeting for their in-person interview, which really isn't an interview. It's more of a show, don't tell. So we show them what it looks like to be a part of the team before we tell them about it, or instead of telling them about it. This is not a sales pitch. This is literally just them seeing what it's like to be on the team. And at the end of that, there is a Q&A for the recruits to come in. We do this in group setting as well. From that, we either onboard or we don't, depending on if we feel like they're a good fit or not, or if they're not interested, then that's fine too. So let's break this down one step at a time. Let's start talking first about lead generation, which is probably where most people get stuck, is even just in starting. I'm going to talk about both what we do and then other things you could do. If you know anything about me, I am a huge fan of inbound. I don't enjoy anything outbound really at all. I never enjoyed any of that stuff when I was an agent, and I don't enjoy that stuff as a team leader either. Not to say it doesn't work. It works fantastic. I just don't do it. What I do is job postings and content. So I'm going to go through the list. The first one is job postings because it's the most important. Now, there's a lot of people that will say, go put a job posting on Wise Hire or ZipRecruiter or like whatever, but Indeed is the Google of job postings, job boards. So why you wouldn't go to Google, the number one by miles, is beyond me. And it's also pay to play. Yes, you can post a job posting for free, but who do you think Indeed is going to push the job posting more? Yours that's for free or mine that has a large budget behind it or even a small budget behind it? They're going to push the person who's spending the most money. Obviously, it's their whole business model. So they are just like Google, and they work almost on a pay-per-click or a dollar per day spend. Like if you've ever advertised on Google or Meta, you understand that, or really anywhere. So first is job postings. We're going to break this down into 2 points. The first point is you do have to spend money. So you're going to want to identify what your budget is for recruiting. So on our job postings, I generally choose to spend anywhere from $50 to $100 per day. And I like to have 2 different job postings going at the same time. Now, my budget might be larger than yours. If your company size is, if you're just getting started, you can get away with way less. We need to generate a lot of leads because we're growing fast. We're growing a large company. So don't get sucked into how much we're spending. I just share that for reference. We recruit 1 to 2 agents every single week, and we spend about $200 a day on Indeed. So the second thing which is equally as important, is your job posting needs to be a actual sales letter. This needs to be a sales pitch explaining why somebody should join your team, why somebody might want to join your team. Now, what you want to do with your sales, and this isn't a sales letter, which I should probably do a whole podcast on that. From when I get into marketing, I'll talk about this. Is you want to be a magnet for the people that are a good fit for your company, meaning that you're also going to push away everybody that's not a good fit. And identifying your avatar and it better not be all real estate agents. Identifying who's actually a good fit to join your company is first and foremost, because you can speak directly to that person. So for example, for my team, I say there's 2 things that show us that an agent's a good fit. Number 1, first and foremost, is that they are willing to follow a proven process. Number 2 is that they're actually willing to put in the work that's required to be successful. Now, 3 and 4 that I don't really say all the time is we don't hire assholes, and we have to make sure they're willing to deliver very, very high levels of customer service. So those are really the 4 things. We have to feel like the agents that are the best fit for our team are willing to follow a proven process. They're willing to put in the work required. They're not an asshole, meaning they're a culture fit. And number 4 is that they will give good customer service and ethical and all that fun stuff, right? So my sales letter reflects that. We only hire full-time, so part-time agents will be like, oh, bummer, I can't apply, or they can apply and they're just not going to be accepted, right? So you want to make sure you are rejecting people that are not a good fit with your sales letter, which will then attract the people that are a good fit. We talk about a lot of built-in accountability. Well, guess what? Somebody that wants to be left alone reading our job posting is like, oh, this sounds miserable. I hate these guys. But somebody that knows they need accountability is going to love that. So it's good only. It is not bad because you're pushing people away. It's good because you're attracting only the right people. Okay. So do not just use the job posting, the generic real estate agent job description. Write your own, and it needs to be good. I would go to Hemingway.com, HemingwayApp.com, or Google it, whatever, and write it in there. Make sure it's written at a 3rd grade level. I'm going a little bit deeper than I wanted to on this topic, but I think it's incredibly important that your sales letter's good. And a huge part of that comes from your actual offer to the agents has to be good. Another whole entire topic as well too. All of this I cover, by the way, in our team building masterclass, but that's a whole nother thing. I'm trying to stay on topic. Lead generation. You have to go to Indeed and spend money. You can also post this everywhere else you want, but you have to have it on Indeed and you have to spend money. Okay, you're going to write a sales letter so that, which is your job posting, has to be compelling so that people want to actually apply to your team. Do not, under any circumstances, just use whatever the platform gives you for a job description for a real estate agent. Most team leaders, meaning like 95% of team leaders, are 1, bad, and 2, lazy, and they're doing the same thing, meaning you will literally have the same job posting as half the teams or companies recruiting in your marketplace, which sounds crazy. Okay, number 1, job postings. The reason I'm spending a lot of time on this is because this is counted for probably 70% of all the agents we've ever recruited came only from Indeed. So just do it. And I say that where I have tested spending the same money on all other platforms, and Indeed is like 100x the best option. Better than ZipRecruiter, better than LinkedIn, better than WiseHire, better than, those are the ones that I've tried, and spend money on all those. All right, that's number 1, job postings. Just do them. Number 2, if you have any money left over in your budget, I also do mailing to examinees. So these are the new licensees. So in my state, yours might be different. We're in California, and we get a list every single Monday of everybody who has applied to get their real estate license. So we send them a nice letter. And what we do is we use our lead magnet. We use our free school community as our lead magnet because it has all of our training and everything a new agent could possibly want to learn how to be a successful agent. So we use that as our lead magnet in our letter. Again, the letter is not join our company, we're so wonderful. The letter is, here are some things I think you might find valuable. Agents will go to that free school community. They'll see what we're all about. They'll learn our sales stuff. And then they can take the next step to join the team if they want. We get very high, very low volume, very, very high quality of agents that join us from this. We send this once a month, and I think we spend like maybe $1,000 a month on this. It's very, very low overall there's very little work involved in this. It's very easy, but it's very low volume, and it's nearly impossible to scale up unless you go larger geographically. All right, number 3 is content. I think this is the biggest unlock I've had in my business career, is just realizing I got into this business being very good at sales, and as I've grown my company, I've learned that okay, I can be as good at sales as I want, but I can only talk to so many people at a time. And I have translated that into becoming a better marketer. I don't think I'm a fantastic marketer by any stretch, but I think I'm getting there. And I am realizing that all of the best quality fits for our recruiting, but like pipeline, all watch our content. Our content helps our agents on our team sell more houses. Our content nurtures people in our recruiting funnel. Content converts people in our recruiting funnel. So creating content is not only just for the short-term gratification of people will watch this video and go to onyxhomes.com/school, because a certain percentage of viewers will do that. But it's also that if you watch all of the podcast episodes in a row and you're like, wow, that was a lot of information, super helpful, that just is going to generate more leads. So this is something that I've just continued to do more and more, and more of my day, time and calendar and focus goes towards content creation. Now, tactically speaking, here is exactly what I do, what I started with. I started with creating one valuable piece of training content every single week, and I still do that every single week to this day. That is also going to go out on an email newsletter. So I email my recruiting list, which is just every agent that I have on my email list. I email that list every single Thursday. We get 40 to 45% open rates. We get 2 to 3%, 4% sometimes click rates. And that is a very, 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 very warm list. And we literally just train. And the goal here is I want to train agents better than their current manager does. And I do that by giving the same training that I give to my agents to every other agent in the marketplace. I do not have a scarcity mindset. I have an abundance mindset. I'm not worried about an agent using our strategies to sell more houses and they're on somebody else's team. It's totally fine. I hope they do. I love that they would. And I've actually got pictures of other agents on other teams using literally our slide deck for a buyer presentation, and send me a message saying, Christian, I got a buyer agreement signed with your slide deck. Like, awesome. Thank you so much. It worked so well. Like, that crushes. So creating content is incredibly valuable. So every single week, you are going to send something valuable, value content. Not, do you want to join my team? Valuable content. Here's how our buyer presentation, here's why our buyer presentation works. Here's our sales frameworks, whatever. Here's how to recruit to your team. Valuable, that wouldn't be a good piece, obviously, if you're a recruiting list, but you get the point. You're going to post that everywhere. So you're going to post it to your Facebook, your Instagram, your LinkedIn, your whatever. You're also going to email it to your list as well too. This over time will build up and up and up and up and up. I'm going to do a whole nother thing talking about this. So I'm not going to go too far in depth, but I will say this has been the biggest unlock I've had in the last 18 months or so, is just the power of creating content. All right. Next is cold calling. You can absolutely just get on the phone and make phone calls and invite people to learn more about your company. Let me back up. Let me go back to content creation, because this goes for everything. Is create a lead magnet. Now, what is a lead magnet? A lead magnet is something you give away for free, or maybe at a very nominal cost, but like for free. And you want to make that thing so valuable that they look at your company and be like, gosh, if they're free stuff, if they're giving this away, like what does it look like to actually work with them? And that's what you want to do. That's what I think you should do. That's what I do. So I use our free school community for this all the time. I say go to onyxhomes.com/school and you get our entire sales masterclass of everything that we train our agents on for sales. You also get a sneak preview on our team building masterclass on the absolute most important part, which is your financial model, as well as Alex Hormozi's scaling workshops. I paid several tens of thousands of dollars to go to those workshops. Those were my biggest takeaways, and they're just right there for free. So you can get a lot of those lessons for free there. I also shared in videos a lot of the takeaways from that. I share takeaways to everything I go to. I also have, like I said, the other master classes. And then I share the most in-depth content, or like intimate content, if you will, about growing your company in there as well. So that is what we've chose to use as our huge lead magnet, where we just put all of our stuff in one spot. Before that, I would have PDFs. So I would say go to whatever link.com, go to abconyxhomes.com and download our buyer presentation packet, or go to the link, whatever, right? Like, have a call to action. And the reason I brought this back up is if I was to have a cold caller, I would not be having my cold caller call to say, hey, join our team. I would have our cold caller say, hey, I was talking to an agent in your office and they found our free community super value in our sales masterclass. Would it be okay if I sent that to you? And if they said no, then fine. If they said, yeah, it's free, yeah, sure, send it over. Then I would put them in that community and I let that lead magnet work that lead. That is why lead magnets are important. And that's why I brought it back up for cold calling. But you could just call people and say, do you want to join my team? Just like you could call people and say, do you want to sell my house? Number, I think 5 is events. So we've hit job postings, by far the most important. Mailing to examinees, I don't know. I get really high quality people from this, but like it's probably not. The number 2 thing I would say to do is you're creating your content. And if you don't have a budget, that's number 1. Number 4, cold call, or cold calling, and then events would be the last one. You can host in-person physical events, or you can do virtual events as well too. I've done webinars in the past. I had 100 agents show up. There's a lot more technicality that goes into that. You need to be good at, funnels and schedulers and all that fun stuff. Or you can just go live on your socials, which is fine. I've also had some success with in-person events as well too. It's just, honestly, we get so much throughput from the other things. It's really not worth the brain damage of doing events yet. It's something we're absolutely going to do in the future, just not something we do right now. I know agents that have a lot of success with it. I just, I feel like we're probably not quite right. We that's not the best use of our resources, so we're not doing it now. But anyway, the whole overall topic for number 1 is lead generation. So you just have to generate leads. So job postings, mailing to examinee list, creating content, cold calling, events. I'm sure I missed some stuff, but those are the basics. You just have to generate people that are interested in your company. Now, from there, you want to make sure you get them to book an appointment with you. You want them to book an appointment with you. This is where I say it's completely automated. So anybody that is inquiring on our team at all goes to our website, which you're welcome to check out. Go to onyxhomes.com/agent, where we tell them everything they could possibly want to know about our team. If they drop their information, we get it and we set up autoresponders, meaning like we email them and text them, hey, I saw you're interested in our team. Here's the calendar link to book our call. And it just goes to a Calendly link for a 20-minute phone call. Pro tip here, increase your conversions by sending what is called a video sales letter when they're booking or before they book the appointment. What a video sales letter is basically is your recorded best sales pitch of why they should do the thing. So again, if you just want to check this out, go to onyxhomes.com/agent. Feel free to inquire if you want to. If you book on the calendar, just like cancel it so you don't waste our time. I would appreciate that. Or like let us know, hey, I'm just trying out your funnel. Totally fine with me. Just don't waste the actual time of the phone call, please. The VSL, the video sales letter, is going to be your best sales pitch on video to your ideal, like whoever just opted in. That is going to increase your conversions across the board. It's a pro tip we got from acquisition.com, and it works incredibly well. All right, let's talk about Calendly. If you do not already have a Calendly, make one. You can make a free Calendly with one calendar like scheduling thing. And you might want to, it's like 10 or 15 bucks a month. I don't really care what you do, but you have to have one for this. So you're going to set up a 20-minute calendar and you're going to make sure it's synced with your calendar, G Suite or whatever you use. And then you're going to be able to send this link to people and they will be able to book based on your availability. And you can set up whatever parameters you want. Maybe only take them in the afternoon, maybe only take them in the morning. You want to block off the weekends, whatever. But you're going to have your calendar on there for 20-minute phone call only. Do not do Zoom calls. Too many of them are going to be a total waste of time for you to need to be in front of a computer. So just make them phone calls. You are going to ask 4 qualifying questions. We ask, what brought you to our job posting in the first place? This is going to have them tell you why, if they're brand new to the business, why they got into the business. If they're in the business already and they're switching brokerages, they're going to tell you why they're switching. So what brought you to our job posting in the first place is the first question. Next, I would say if it's not clear that they're full-time in the business, I would ask some version of what does your business look like right now? Or what is your plans for transition? And I'm trying to understand for us, at least, if they're full-time or not, because we only hire full-time. Third question is, what is the most important thing you're looking for in whatever team or brokerage you join? That is them telling us how we need to close them and what's the most important thing to them. Last question is, what would you consider to be a successful year? And this is just us getting a good idea of what they would be happy with. If they say, hey, Christian, I'd be happy to sell one house a year, that person's probably not a good fit for our team. All right, those are your 4 questions. Do not overthink this. Just make a Calendly. And then you're going to generate leads. Let's go tactical here. You're going to generate leads, and then you're going to set up email sequence and text sequence, if you can, to ask them to book the interview. Here is a crazy story, is that for the first year and a half, when we recruited from 12 to 50 agents, the email campaign we sent was the same email 5 times, literally the exact same email. It just said, hey, here's a link to our calendar. Hey, you're interested? Here's a link to the calendar, book it. And we sent literally that same email day 1, day 3, day 7, 15, 30, 45. That was it. We sent the same email 5 times. And the text message was some version of, hey, saw you inquired on our team. Here's the link to schedule your interview. And do not overcomplicate this. And we've made it better since then. So if you go inquire now, you're going to get way better emails, a little bit fancier, more marketing involved. But it did not start like that. It doesn't need to be. All right, that is number 2, is your Calendly. Here's a pro tip. You can follow up at scale by sending that email every single week. So I talked about this earlier when I talked about content. Your training content you send your email list, you're just going to have your link to your calendar in there, or the link to your website so they can inquire. And every single email you send, if they want to join your team, they can click the join my team, and they can book their calendar right there. All right, number 3. So if they're qualified from that 20-minute phone call, you are then going to invite them into your team meeting. This is where you show what it's like to be a part of your team versus telling them about it. Showing is going to be way, way, way better. It's going to be way more effective. And what this is actually probably the most valuable part of what this will make you do is it's going to make your team meetings better. It's going to make them more valuable for the agents you already have. And it's going to make them really, really valuable for the agents that are interviewing to join your company. It's going to give them a pretty darn good idea of what it looks like to be on the team. And they get to meet other agents on the team, talk to them. I would say a pro tip here would be have your most trusted agent on your team already. Go up to the prospect, the recruit, and ask them to vet them a little bit. Even just hey, Christian, that person was weird, is invaluable in this recruiting. Because they don't necessarily know, the recruits don't necessarily know that this is also an interview. After the team meeting, you can do a Q&A. So when you get your automated funnel really cranking, you're likely to have multiple people in every single team meeting. We usually have 2 to 5 people every single week in our team meeting that are checking us out. So we do a group Q&A after, and I just say, hey, open forum. There's no question you can't ask me that I wouldn't answer. So everybody has the same questions, so fire away. It's going to be awkward for one question, and then we'll get started. So I do a group Q&A, and at the end of that, I just basically say, hey, here's next steps. If you want to join, let us know. If you don't want to join, let us know. And step number 4 is you onboard the ones that you actually want. Now, that was a very quick step number 4, but step number 3 is if they're qualified, invite them into the team meeting. Let me go deeper here. But that is really as simple as it is. I like having somebody else talk to them to make sure that whoever did the initial interview, is probably you, you didn't miss anything, right? I mean, does this person, the obvious red flags? Let me just put it that way. Or they're probably on their best behavior talking to you, but if another agent goes up to them, they might show their true colors. And that would be a good red flag to know then versus later. So then you go through your team meeting, which you're going to make sure is absolutely fantastic every week forever. You should be doing weekly team meetings also, where you're showing them what it's like to be on the team, not telling them. Now in your Q&A, if you're implementing this right now, here is my advice, is bring in a notebook for you to take notes when you're doing the Q&A. And what you'll do is every single question they ask, write down the question. The reason you're going to do this is because you're going to add these questions to your sales follow-up and sales process on the front end over time. So if you realize that nobody understands what your splits and comp structures beforehand, you should add that to your front end, meaning that should be on your website, or at least after they've scheduled, then they get your comp plan. Ours is right on our website. I have no problems showing our entire comp plan to our website. So that's why you want to list all the questions as well too. Also, it'll probably show you what they like and don't like, right? If they're not asking questions about something, it's because they don't care about it. Or maybe it's just super obvious. I don't know. But that would be what I would do so that you can iterate over time. If you get every single person, every single group asks you the same 5 questions, put those questions in your VSL, your video sales letter, ahead of time, and make sure it's in your website, in your offer packet as well. Then, like I said, number 4, bring on the ones that you want. Don't bring anybody on that you do not like or don't think would be a good fit. I choose to not, this is me personally, I choose to not handle any objections whatsoever. If somebody says, hey, Christian, I'd like to join your team, but your splits are too low, I would say, yep, they probably are too low. It's totally fine. There's 100,000 other teams out there. I wish you the best of luck. And I don't have any problem with that whatsoever. I'm not going to arm wrestle somebody into joining my company because I feel like if I arm wrestle them now, they're going to leave for higher splits later. And I'd rather them just never join. Is that wrong? I don't know, maybe. But I honestly choose to play the very, very long game. I'd rather somebody go see the grass is greener or not somewhere else, and they either never join the team, never come back. But like, I don't want anybody to think that I like desperately needed them to join the company, because we don't, one. And I don't like hard closes. I never have. I want and this is where the I was good at sales when I got into the business. And this is where the getting good at marketing stuff makes it to where if somebody's been exposed to all of the marketing up front, I really feel like it does 90% of the work. And if they've been exposed to that 90% and they still don't want to join, me pushing them over the edge is probably not the best thing for either one of us. And I've had plenty of people that have joined, needed to be pushed over the edge, and we just don't do it. And then they go join another team, and then they call us back in 6 months because it wasn't what they thought. So I prefer that way. That's just my personal opinion. You can do it however you want. If you need the agent, or let me explain it a different way, is if you feel like you need to arm wrestle people to join your company, what you offer probably just isn't very compelling, is the reality, which is a whole nother episode in itself, is your offer. But if you're having to arm wrestle everybody to join your company, your offer is probably just not very compelling. All right. So let's dive in again tactically. If you're taking notes, this is like write down. If you're listening, watching, whatever, open your notes app, get a pen and paper out. I would write these down. These are our benchmarks based on job postings, organic content, mailers is really the only lead generation that we do. And here's our exact metrics from, this is from the year 2024. Okay. Number of leads not number of leads generated, but the percentage of leads generated that automatically book a call, automated, 100% automated. I do not call any of these people. I do not text I don't do anything with these people if they do not book my calendar. Somewhere between 15 and 30%. This fluctuates a little bit. I think it depends on the lead quality of what you have set up on Indeed. I think if you set anybody can apply, they don't have to have a license, whatever, it's probably going to be closer to that 15%. And you'll have a lower cost per lead. What we have seen is that if we say, hey, you have to have a license, it's more like 1/3 or 30% of people will book, but the cost per lead triples. Like it's the same thing, doubles, whatever. So from leads generated to booked phone calls is 15 to 30%. I would do your math based on probably 30%. Most of our quarters were closer to 30%. Leads to booked phone calls, 30%. So if you get 100 leads, 30% of them will book a phone call, which is 30. From the booked phone call to second interview, half, which brings us to 14. So 50% of people that book a call will schedule for the in-person. 30% of the people that schedule the second interview at the team meeting in person will actually onboard. So if we had 14 people scheduled to come in, we would get about 4 of them, something like that. That math is a little bit off, but you get the point there. So those are the metrics. From lead to phone call is 30%. From phone call to second interview is 50%. Second interview to onboard 30%. Now this overall translate to somewhere between a 2 to 5% conversion ratio. And if this sounds familiar to generating or converting online leads like Zillow, Redfin, Realtor.com, even Google pay-per-click, it's because it's the same thing, as I said. Meaning we need to generate 20 to 50 leads to onboard one agent. Now I will give you one more data point here is 30% of the agents you onboard will not be a good fit, and you will probably very quickly have to onboard. It just, we've tried so many things to make this not the case, but 30% of the people that you hire will need to be offboarded rather quickly. So what that really means is we need to increase that by about 30%, the amount of leads by about 30%. So let's say you need 40 to 70 recruiting leads in order to generate one quality agent. And I'm going to tell you something you probably tell agents all the time. You are not generating enough leads in order to hit your goal. Just period. Especially with recruiting. You're probably not doing it with your sales either. But that is the absolute truth. Now, here's a pro tip for you. You can absolutely, remind you, this is almost entirely hands-off. From lead generation to booked calendar, us picking up the phone at the time that calendar was scheduled is the first manual thing that happens. And we still bring people on at this rate. And could we get those numbers higher? Yes, of course. But let me ask this way. Would it be easier to double our conversion rate through this funnel that we've been working on for 2 years? Or would it be easier or cheaper to 2x the amount of leads that are coming in? It would 1000% be easier to 2x the number of leads coming in. Absolutely. Because us playing around with the funnel and trying to figure out how we can 2x conversion will do two different things. One, it has just as good of a chance of lowering conversion rather than making it better. It also means that if you're so concerned about your actual conversion rate, I have found your team as a whole, meaning like whoever's involved in recruiting, will actually get more focused on just hiring people to hit a conversion rate versus hiring the right people. I'd rather have a lower conversion rate hiring the right people with more leads than a higher conversion rate hiring the wrong people just to hit the number, to prove a point. So generate more leads is the pro tip there. Now, if you are getting these types of conversions, or if you're not getting these types of conversions, I said this earlier, or you feel like you have to arm wrestle everybody, it is because your offer sucks, which is going to be covered in another episode. I'm really looking forward to that one because it's something that I am very, very passionate about, and it ties in with the financial model, which is something we talked about in an earlier episode as well. So that's the episode. If you want the closest possible look at us growing our company, go to onyxhomes.com/school with the K. It's in the description and everywhere else, so you might want to look to find it. Also, if you enjoy this stuff, like, subscribe, do all the things. And if you really, really liked it, share this with another team leader, business owner, broker owner that you also think might like it. That is another episode down in the story of building Onyx Homes from start to finish. I'll see you next time.